In this video, you get to look at various procurement and supply sample questions based on specification, as well as understanding specifications, okay? Its types and practical examples in each case. Also, I'll tell you where you can go and access, okay, all these sample questions, be it on specifications and other things that are going to aid you with your studies. What are specifications? Now, specifications can be defined as a statement of requirements to be satisfied in the supply of product or service. If you're planning to buy something, okay, you're planning to buy shoes. So there are things you need to know about that, like the size, material used, okay, the design of the shoes. All these things are specifications. If you're planning to buy a laptop, the same thing goes, okay, the specs, the RAM, the memory, all that stuff, right? So all those things just point to, if somebody's going to supply them, then that person better supply something that has these things that we've just listed, these things that we've specified. In procurement, the business needs and the needs of the stakeholders will be taken into consideration when coming up with specifications. For instance, if you are sourcing for procurement software, you just don't go online and look for software companies that are cheap. You first of all have to figure out, okay, who's going to use this software in an organization? What are they going to use it for? Okay. What exactly are they looking for? First of all, because there is, maybe they want one for accounting, but as an accountant, which one works for them? What things are they looking for in that software? From the accounting perspective as a stakeholder, which is different from your perspective as the guy who's going to do the procurement. From an exam perspective, the sort of questions that are going to be asked here, okay, they'll vary, but typically they start from figuring out if you know what specification is, so the definition point of view, or things that will point out that you can actually define what specification is, all the way to practical examples and things like that. So here's what I'm talking about. We're starting with the questions that are going to test your understanding, okay? So your understanding of specification definition. And in this case, we could have a question like this one. Which of the following best, okay, describes a specification in procurement? And you have a choice, right? So number one, or number A, okay, a detailed description of goods or services required. Is that it? A financial agreement between the buyer and the seller. A list of potential suppliers for product or service. A document outlining delivery schedule of goods. Is it this one, or is it any, it's that one, okay? A detailed description of goods or services required. Now, another question that you could be asked here are, what is the primary purpose of specification in procurement? And the primary purpose in this case, is it to ensure timely delivery of goods? That's what the key performance indicators are going to do, right? To outline payment terms? Not really, those are just terms. To provide a clear understanding of what is needed? Of course. To select? Not really. So, because you need to understand what is needed, that is why we specify what is needed. Again, look, those questions just go to point out, do you really know what specifications are or you don't? Now, here's another one, okay? Why is it important to involve stakeholders in specification development? Why? To ensure specifications are written quickly? Is it that one? To meet regulatory requirements? To incorporate diverse expertise and ensure all needs are considered, or to increase the number of potential suppliers? Well, the moment you're talking about stakeholders, then we know that we need to know, we need to ensure that all needs are considered. And since who are stakeholders? These are the people who can affect or be affected by whatever you are doing in that procurement. And so we need to know, okay, where they stand as far as whatever we are doing is concerned. So these are some of the questions that that can be presented as far as just testing your understanding of the definition of specification. And I've done a bunch of these ones, okay? So I've done a bunch of those questions, and you can access them. Just head over to zeritnetwork.com. And in that case, you're going to be able to see the sample questions, the answers, okay, the explanation of answers, and the other materials there, like the videos that you can access, okay, links to videos, and downloadable materials. So again, sample questions based on the topics, just head over to zeritenetwork.com and you'll be able to see that. What are the main types of specifications? And generally specifications can be classified into two, okay? So usually you have conformance and performance. And of course, depending on whatever literature you're reading, okay, or examples you're looking at, all these can be, you can have various derivatives of those two. For example, somebody can talk about input specifications. Meaning what? Meaning, these are the inputs that I want you to use when you're designing this particular thing. So what does that turn out to be? That just turns out to be things that you need to conform with. So it's just conformance specification. Then you can have output specifications saying, yeah, you do whatever you're going to do. These are the results that you expect. So what is that? That's just performance. Okay, we expect whatever you're doing to perform 1, 2, 3. So whether they call it input, output, functional, technical, just ask yourself, are there things I need to conform with? And there are functions that they're looking out for. And then you'll have conformance and performance. Now, let's define those two, right? So conformance specification, let's start with that one. And in this case, they're just things that you need to, these are specifications that you need to conform with. And this can come in the form of things like, technical drawings, chemical formula, model number, brand name, etc. Look, in a construction, for example, okay, the project manager or the contractor has to stick with the drawings provided by the architect, and their creativity is not called for in this case. So with conformance, we don't care how creative you are. That's your problem, okay? We just want you to stick to what we've told you. It could be those ISO standards and things of those nature. But again, these things tend to be, one side can be conformance, on the other side can be performance. In fact, let's talk about performance and then you'll see how that comes to be. So with performance specification, okay, or functional specification, the idea here is that the supplier, or rather the buyer in this case, since you're the supplier, right? So the buyer is just telling you the sort of things, okay, the sort of things that they expect, that product, that service, that whatever it is that you're providing, there are sort of things that they expect that thing to do. Sort of function they expect the thing to perform. And so you're free to go about, you're free to be creative as long as you deliver those results. For example, okay, is an example of how sometimes that is not clearly stated, but you can see it. So let's assume, or let's say you get a cleaning contract and the specifications are something like, office rooms must be free of visible dirt and debris at all times. Restrooms must be cleaned and restocked with supplies, so soap, paper towels, toilet paper, daily by 7 a.m. Trash bins must be emptied and realigned every evening. Office window must be streak-free and cleaned at least once per month, okay? Desk and other surfaces must be dusted and sanitized twice a week. Now, those are the sort of results that the client expects. So, whatever you're going to do them. We just need those results. Meaning what? How do you perform your duty? Have they told you that? Not really. They just say, look, these are the things you expect. So some of the things they haven't mentioned, for example, as long as you ethically and legally get the results, the client is okay. So the performance specification does not dictate the specific cleaning products to be used. It does not specify the exact cleaning technique or method to be employed. It allows the cleaning staff to determine the best approach to meet the performance criteria. Because if they tell you that, then it switches from performance and it becomes conformance. If they say you have to use these detergents, you have to clean this way, then suddenly it's conformance specification. Otherwise, we just told you the results. Go ye and be creative as far as, getting us those results are concerned. Of course, as long as it's legal and ethical, right? Now, regarding the questions, let's talk about that. So in this case, you have questions, okay? Questions testing your knowledge of the various types of specification. In this case, what are you talking about? You're talking about questions like, what is the difference between performance and conformance specification? So performance specification describes how a product should function, while conformance specification lists standards it must meet. Is it that? Conformance describe how product should. So basically, this one is just the opposite of that. Performance specifications are less flexible than conformance specifications. Not really. I mean, conformance specifications are focused on end user satisfaction, while performance are focused on, again, not really. Okay. The truth is, performance specifications describe how a product should function, while conformance just lists the standards it must meet. Another one, which of the followings are likely to feature within an output specification? What exactly is an output specification? Output, meaning what? Meaning the sort of results that are expected. In short, the thing that thing is supposed to perform. Okay? The output. So they're just saying which of these ones are likely to be, like performance. So you start by just looking at anything that points towards performance. So you already have 3. Okay? And which another one? Which other? Product functions. Okay? So technical, more likely to be, and it's not conformance. So in that case, the answer is going to be 1 and 3. Still, that just goes to test your, do you know what these ones are or not? And then we have a logistics company follows the ISO 28000. So this one has to do with security. Okay. So security in supply chain. What am I doing? Anyway, security in supply chain. What is the primary focus of this conformance specification? Well, the primary focus, Freddie answered that. Ensuring that security of, ensuring the security of supply chain. So that's a standard that you need to if that is a thing, okay? Like if you're part of, like, you've gotten this contract and the client wants to know, as part of their managing supply chain risks, how are you going to ensure security as far as this entire process is concerned? So that's that. Anyway, those are examples of questions that you're likely to meet as far as just testing your understanding of the various types of specifications is concerned. So they can directly ask you that, or they can give you a scenario, and in that scenario, you're supposed to figure out whether the thing is performance or it's conformance. And they don't have to use those 2 names. They can say output, they can say input, they can say technical specification, they can say functional. So, whatever term they use, you need to be good at that. So at this point, you are aware of what specifications are, the various ways you can classify them, okay? And the questions that sort of revolve around those ones. And again, just a reminder, okay? All these and many more are in ZeriteNetwork.com, okay? So I'll probably add a link in the description, or just, ZeriteNetwork.com, and then you'll see the sample questions, okay? And then you can access that sample questions depending on which paper you're doing, because we keep on, updating them and we are creating them. So if you don't find something that you're looking for now, it doesn't mean that it won't be there anyway, because these things do take time. But the other thing that you also need to know as far as specifications are concerned are the advantages, disadvantages of each of the specifications, as well as how they can be used to add value in procurement. When you talk about benefits, in this case, you can be asked something like, why might a procurement professional prefer performance specification over conformance? And, it kind of makes sense, because as a guy who's supplying, which one do you like? Do you like to be told, stick to these things? Or do you prefer they just say, here are the results you want, go get us those results? So why would you prefer performance? And so is it because performance specifications are easier to enforce? Is it because performance specifications allow the supplier more flexibility in how they achieve the desired outcome? Is it because conformance specifications are less precise? Not really. They are very precise. And conformance specifications do not consider not really. It's just because performance specifications allow suppliers more flexibility. Okay. Another question here could be, why is conformance specification important in product development? Yep. Now conformance. Product development. 1, because it ensures the product meets regulatory standards. Or it helps the company identify new market opportunities. Not really. It determines the pricing. Not really. It streamlines it's more because it ensures that the product meets the regulatory standards. if standards is what they are going for. Okay, so in that case, they're going to use that, because something like whatever ISO standard they're using, or if they say stick to this chemical formula, or if they say here are the drawings, okay, metric tons versus whatever, what's the difference between miles and kilograms, whatever, those sort of things. Yep, so you go for that. Now, you know the questions, okay, from definition to types to benefits. Let's move on. Now, compared to conformance specification, performance specification has a number of advantages, such as the specifications are easier to draft, the efficacy of specification does not depend on technical knowledge of the buyer, supplier can use their creativity to develop the products, and then greater share of specification risks is borne by the supplier, because again, look, if they are the ones who are going to come up with, you just want the results. So use your creativity to give us those results, which means you tend to incur most of the risks. Now, these benefits will obviously vary from, one project to another. So the question then can be, when is it good to use performance specification? And number one, when the supplier has more technical or relevant skills than that of the buyer, when technology is constantly changing in the supplier's industry, in which case it will be hard to specify methodologies, when there's a clear criterion for evaluating alternative solutions suggested by the suppliers competing for the contract, when there's enough time to assess the functionality of the product as proposed. Regarding value addition, because that's a big deal, at the end of the day, look, if you can, what do people pay for? People pay for value, okay? That's the reason why you can do something for 12 hours and then somebody does something for 1 hour and they make more money than you. It just comes down to the value, okay? What value are you offering? Not necessarily how long does it take. So when it comes to value addition in procurement, the question can be, why do specifications matter and how do they help in value addition? In the quest for value addition, okay, with specifications, the good thing, or rather, the way they come into play is that, number one, they ensure requirements are properly defined, okay? They communicate the requirements clearly to the suppliers. This way, they can, depending on the type of procurement, conform to the plan or innovate cost-effective solutions. They minimize risks associated with miscommunication and doubt. Also, they provide a means of evaluating the quality of goods supplied or the extent which the suppliers have to conform or have conformed to what is ordered. And finally, they support standardization and consistency in situations where you are likely to procure items from various sources. So this particular video, okay, this revision thing will fall in your syllabus, okay, in the CIP syllabus. It falls under the documents that comprise a contract between the buyer and the supplier. And you can access that one here. So in that case, you are looking at the lessons and pretty much everything that you need to know, in addition to other things. So check out that video. And if there is any question, do let me know. And I'll see you in the next one.